Happy Sunday. Oh, if that didn't turn you off, I don't know what will, because I can't sing. Well, we're going to talk about some weird stuff going on in the housing market because nobody could have predicted this. Here we are. Inventory is skyrocketing across the country. Not in all markets, of course, but as a whole. As a whole, we're seeing a lot more inventory hit the market. And, common sense would say if housing inventory is going up, what should that do, right? Home prices should be coming down. But you'll see in the article today from Realtor.com, home prices aren't coming down. They're actually, on average, going up, which is bizarre to me. If you're watching me from YouTube, give me a little hello and tell me where you're coming from. If you're watching me from TikTok, tell me where you're coming from too, because I'm streaming in both places. So I have it going in both places. If you have any questions during the stream, make sure you write the word question first, and then the question you have about real estate, and Eddie will put it up on the screen. If you're coming in from TikTok, you won't see it on the screen, but I will still answer your question. Eddie will let me know. He will voice it and let us know where the question is coming in from, and he will repeat it out loud so we can hear it. So I'm so glad to see everybody in both genres. Thank you so much for being here. All right. Hopefully it's not too cloudy. I didn't clean my camera on TikTok, so it's a little blurry. Sorry. Hey, Alicia Jones, I see you over there in TikTok land. Rick Tech is here. Eric the Blue is here. Kelly's here. Susan's here. Harry's here. Christopher's here. Patricia is here. And Susie's here. Diane and Sandy is joining from TikTok. Patricia says, holy cow, anything that is not a teardown is for 100K. You know what? Not for 100K. I can't find anything here in the Baton Rouge area for under 100K that isn't like, termite ridden. It's terrible. Deborah says, however, in the coal region where I can still get a home for 100,000, some repair needed, cheaper in North PA than South PA. Yes. I've been looking myself in Pennsylvania. Lawnmower says it's at 6 a.m. this morning in part of DFW. It was 75 degrees with 34,800% humidity. Here in Louisiana is the same. Happy Sunday, Debbie Brady. It's good to see you. All right. Without further ado, let's get into the article. This came out from Realtor.com. And it was a very interesting article. Eddie, if you could put that on the screen. Matter of fact, Eddie, if you wouldn't do me a favor, if you could put the link in the private chat so that way I can follow along a little easier, because I have two cords that are kind of blocking the way, so I can't see very easily. I would really appreciate it. Thank you so much. New home sales remain slow in June as summer doldrums set in for the housing market. And I don't know where you're at, but I've seen it in a lot of southern markets that, home sales are in the pits. I've talked to lots of real estate agents across the country, and under the Sun Belt, man, you're having a hard time. Florida, Texas, Phoenix, Arizona, those areas, even Nevada is having some issues getting some homes sold. But if you happen to be like New Jersey, Connecticut, even parts of Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh, matter of fact, is still selling like hotcakes. Believe it or not, they're having like it's 2022 again up in the Northeast. Sales of newly built homes remained slow in June, sending inventory higher and relieving pressure on prices. Signed contracts for new home construction of single-family homes were seasonally adjusted at an annual rate of 627,000. That's up last month from 0.6% in May, but down 6.6% from a year earlier, the Census Bureau reported on Thursday. The median sales price of new homes sold in June of 2025 was $401,000. $401,800. Matter of fact, $401,800. That's almost $402,000. We might as well just say that. If you told me this median sales price for a traditional new construction home in the United States 5 years ago was going to be over 400,000, I would told you you're smoking something. This is insanity, and it still continues to go up. But they say it's down 4.9% from May and 2.9% lower than a year ago. And that's just for new home construction. But existing homes are still continuing to go up. Howdy from Idaho, Patricia. Nice to see you. Eddie, can you scroll down, please? Da, 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 da. Oops. Uh-oh. I have to scoot this over. Sorry. I have to scoot this over here so I can see it easier. These falling prices reflect the recent trend of builders delivering smaller, more affordable homes. Who says who? Are you guys seeing smaller, more affordable homes across your area? Because Kristina is not to the market, but has a harsh reality that demand for homes of waning as more buyers simply decide that they cannot afford a new home purchase under current market conditions. Compared to with a prior month, new home supply sales dropped in the Northeast and West, but rose in the Midwest and South. Sales were down annually in every region aside from the Midwest. Inventory continued to rise with the supply of homes for sale hitting a seasonally adjusted rate of 511,000, up from 8.5% a year earlier. It represented a supply of 9.8 months at the current sales rate, up from 8.4 months a year ago. And I say a healthy market means there's only 6 months supply of homes on the market. You get above there, that means that you're hitting into a buyer's market. But it depends on where you are, because in the South, you're going to see a lot more supply than you would in the North. The number of homes for sale is at its highest level in the past year, at the same time that the sales numbers are at the lowest with expectation of last month. New home buyers have ample opportunity to find a home with little competition to deal with, but they remain reluctant to purchase. Affordability challenges, including from the elevated mortgage rates, continue to sideline many home buyers, and a new report was another sign that the weak spring housing season shows no sign of picking up after the summer months. What did I tell you? I told you we were going to have a dead spring, and I told you we were going to have a dead summer. But this is what I want to pose out to you, right? So there has been whispers, more than whispers, a lot of news stories saying that our current president is looking to squeeze out Jerome Powell because he wants interest rates to come down. That doesn't necessarily mean mortgage interest rates come down, but if it is significant enough, technically it could see a decrease in the 10-year treasury yield, meaning that mortgage prices could come down. Could. If that happens, in my opinion, I think that with as many people that are sitting on the sidelines now, if the interest rates came down 1 or 2%, I think it's going to be chaos all over again, because all those people that have the FOMO or have been saving up all this time, it's going to go crazy all over again. That's my personal opinion. You give me your opinion. Well, we continue to go into this article, but that's what I think is going to happen. If he gets rid of him before, because he only has like 8 months left, and he gets rid of them sooner to cause interest rates to go down, I say, get your house now. As soon as that happens, get your house and move on. I don't know what the repercussions of that's going to be. I don't even know if that's going to actually happen, but I'd be interested to see what you guys think. Well, I'll put it up in the comments section when I hear what you have to say about it. Affordability challenges, including elevated mortgage rates, continue to sideline many home buyers, and a new report was another sign that the weak spring and the housing season shows no signs of picking up after the summer months. Though the number of options for buyers and prices are down, buyers and builders are still struggling to make a deal. And a lot of home builders are offering like buy down rates. They're offering incentives for upgrades. They're offering all sorts of things, amenities to add on so that way you'll please buy our houses kind of thing. And not only that, the builder sentiment is down as well. And they're not building. they're holding off because they can't price out housing because of the tariff situation, because they're on again, off again. They're like, we're not even going to pull out permits until we figure this thing out and everything settles down. So if that happens as well, you don't have enough new construction that's going to be hitting the market. Then you see Jerome Powell gets kicked out, mortgage rates come down. That means that a tightening of supply, so existing homes would go up if that was to happen. Just saying. It'll be interesting to see what happens. The report follows the data this week showing that sales of previous owned homes, which account for the vast majority of home sales, also struggled in June, dropping to their lowest level in 9 months. The U.S. is now in pace for the third consecutive year of historically weak home sales, according to the Realtor.com. The forecast projected that the sales volume for existing homes will fall 1.5% annually in 2025 to just 4 million transactions. That would mark the slowest year of existing home sales since 1995, when they registered 3.8 million. Home sales were also the lowest level since 1995 in both 2023 and 2024, according to the National Association of Realtors. In many markets where home prices have surged beyond what local wages can afford, many prospective home buyers appear to be on strike, opting to continue to renting rather than make a home purchase. They're not on strike; they can't afford it. That line is so crazy to me. Like, oh, well, we're just not going to buy; we're going to rent. We're on strike. No, they can't afford it. Ridiculous. Home sellers seem to be disinclined to negotiate by dropping their prices. A recent Realtor.com analysis found that delistings surged 47% in May from a year ago, as sellers who couldn't find their asking price removed their homes from the market. So I think some sellers are still unrealistic, thinking that they could get that top sales dollar. And if they didn't have to sell, these are the people I call, they're testing the market. They want to see how high they can go. And if they're not going to get their price, they don't have to sell. So they pull their houses off the market. The ones that have to sell will negotiate. And the ones that will get more desperate, and I will always maintain this, if the job market starts to go to the poops and starts entering the toilet and starts swirling around and flushed away, then you're going to see a lot more sellers be a lot more negotiable, because they're in desperate situations. Not that I want that to happen, but I will say that a lot of home sellers are sitting on a lot of equity, so they have the room to play with and room to wiggle. All right, both sides may be waiting for the mortgage rates to improve after rates remained stuck in a fairly narrow range of 6.6% since the beginning of the year. Newly built homes on average come with lower rates due to builder incentives such as rate buy downs, but sluggish sales figures for new construction suggest that those incentives have not been enough to overcome tepid demand. All right, now that we're talking, what would make you buy a brand new home? What incentive could a builder give to you to buy their house brand new? What would they have to offer? I mean, would it be a full sodded yard? I don't know if they do that in your area, but in our area, they only sod the front and you have to sod the back. Would it be new upgraded appliances? Would it be wall-to-wall flooring? Would it be a rate buy down? What would incentivize you to decide to step foot and buy a brand new home? Unless there is a material improvement in financing conditions or household income, a near-term acceleration in new home sales appears unlikely. The National Association of Home Builders Assistant Vice President Forecasting and Analysis. Yep, I concur. So that is from Realtor.com. And the thing is that home prices continue to go up. And that you would have never in a million years told me that they would continue to go up. But what's averaging it all out is the fact that there is still a lot of homes up in the Northeast that are selling like hotcakes. That's what's keeping the market going. Hi from Costa Rica, Kristina. Meow glasses today. Look sharp. Prices are going up, but those houses closings are But are those houses closing at those prices? And do you know what price bracket those houses are closing at? So you're asking if there's any kind of incentives from from the sellers to get their houses closed. Like that article was saying, a lot of sellers, a good portion, about 50% of them, are willing to give like closing costs and, of course, pay the buyer's agent's fee, the broker fee. But other than that, they're not moving too much. They'd rather get their price than negotiate. Depending on the market you're in. Now, if you're in like Florida and more areas that have a lot more listings, they're a lot more negotiable, and you can get a lot more closing costs, and you can negotiate the price a lot more too as well. So King in the City the First says, Kristina, question, are the Smallhorns thinking about coming to PA? You heard it first. Yes, it's on our agenda. Yes, it's on our agenda.
I think the question was about coming home to PA.
Well, I used to live there 1,000 years ago. I don't remember when I was a baby, but yeah. Yep. We're thinking about it. We're also going to be, there is a modular home conference in Pennsylvania, in Pittsburgh this year coming up. So if you type in modular home conference, Pittsburgh 2025, I am going to be there. I'm going. That's where the modular home builders hang out and have their conference. So you get to see the kind of the behind the scenes kind of stuff. It isn't really public stuff, but if you wanted to hear what home builders in the modular home space have to say and what they're concerned about, that would be a great place to go. The first day is more of like all the different new building materials and that kind of stuff. The second day on that modular home conference is like discussions of what's going on in the modular home industry. So I liked that. The second day was to me, it was like the modular home gossip. I liked the second day better than the first. Eric Blue says, is there a word getting out nationwide about the value of Pittsburgh offers? Will home prices become more expensive there too? I saw an article. Eddie, did you share that article with me? Somebody shared an article with me recently about Pittsburgh, and that it has been a quiet city during this housing boom, that homes are still affordable in Pittsburgh, but it's not a real big popular spot. With that being said, though, it's one of those housing markets this past summer that has continued to sell like hotcakes. It's still very affordable there. You can get a really nice house, and a lot of the areas are very walkable to stores and everything, because it's an older city. It was designed a lot without having a car in mind. But then Pittsburgh is weird. I don't know if you guys ever been out there. It will be like you're in the city, but then you're not in the city within a few seconds. And then, people have like really big yards. It's very strange. Very strange. I love it though. Hello from Mount Dora. Hot and humid country. We need a small hurricane. No, we do not need a small hurricane.
No, you don't.
No, bite your tongue. No, nobody needs a small hurricane. No hurricanes. Carrots in the Rabbit Hole says, question, why are some listings saying coming soon? Okay, so if it's a brand new construction, that means that they haven't, they've gotten the permits for it, but they haven't like poured the concrete or actually or they're just starting to build it. So they're saying it's coming soon because it isn't available to purchase right at the moment. And some areas will allow you to mark it before it actually is listed. So it'll say coming soon. Some people opt for that. And I'm the kind of person that's like, I'm not playing those games. When the house is listed and it goes on the market, period. I actually have a listing coming up, by the way. I'm very excited about it. A friend of mine wanted me to help her sell her home, and I just did a nice video for her. So I just got that headed it over her way. She likes it. Just Me said, question, would lower interest rates possibly push for lower rent prices if everyone starts buying homes? It's possible, but not improbable that rent prices would go up. If you remember during the pandemic, rent prices saw the highest increase that we've ever seen during that time. The thing is that the the powers that be that own a lot of apartment complexes and all of these rent to own housing, they're not supposed to, but they do. They collude with one another to make sure that they keep rent prices elevated. They game the system and have it stay at a stagnant price for everybody. So even if you're like, well, I'm just going to find somewhere cheaper to live down the road, it ends up being the same exact price. It didn't used to be that way. They didn't used to collude with one another, but they've gotten in trouble for it in all the major cities. And then of course they're like, well, we don't do it now. Of course they do. They just found another way to do it without getting caught, So we'll see what happens. If enough people like walk away from those apartments because they can't afford it, then, of course they're going to have to come down in price, or they're going to keep them vacant because of the fact that they can use that as a tax deduction because they have a vacancy rate. It's messed up. It's messed up. Patricia says builder incentive, $10,000 rate buy down. I've seen that. Yeah, I've seen that too. I saw, I've also seen like, the only appliances that come to a new house here in Louisiana is like your oven, your stove, your dishwasher, and that's it. You don't get a refrigerator here with a brand new house. You do not get a washer and dryer with a brand new house. And so they are offering those kinds of packages in order to get people to incentivize to buy the new house. The other thing is they will offer wood flooring, wall-to-wall wood flooring. And normally they would like just wood floor the main living area and then put carpet in the bedrooms. But they're like, people are saying, no, I don't want that. And they're like, well, if you buy our house, we'll do it all the way through the house. Anything to get them sold. Some people, that's what it takes, So Christopher says, should I get my real estate license in Oklahoma just for fun? Absolutely. Why not? Getting the license is the easy part. Getting the license is the easiest part of it. You take some classes, you pass the test, then you have more. This is the messed up part when you get a license. You take all these classes, you pass the test, you get your license, but you can't do anything with it until you take all these other classes on top of it. You have to take another like 13 to 16 hours on top of it. I don't remember what it is. Every state has something different. And even after all of that, it does not teach you one lick about selling a house. It doesn't teach you about filling out a contract. None of it. It's all about laws. The whole real estate exam is about laws. Other than that, get your license. Go ahead. It can't hurt anything. You learn a little bit. Yep. Living in Omaha, David Matney. He's a friend of mine, by the way. In our market, new construction is a better option than existing. In a lot of markets right now, it is, especially since builders are offering a lot of incentives. But if you live in an area that doesn't have a lot of new construction, the existing homes is the only option, So, yep. Lawnmower says, I think there's something going on in my neighborhood. A couple of neighbors have decided to defer needed repairs like roofs, plumbing, and driveways. Well, I don't know how much roofs are in your area, but I mean, they can be $30,000 to $60,000 here. And I'm just talking a regular roof because of the roof pitches that we have here in Louisiana. Deferring of repairs, sometimes people do it because they have to get out early and they don't want to be around with the sound, and it's just easier for them. If the rest of the house looks good and they say, okay, the roof estimate is going to be this amount of money here, we'll go ahead and take it out of the sales price of the house just for you to be able to get the house. A lot of people do it. In other cases, I've seen it where they went through the whole inspection report, but the insurance company for the buyers said, we can't insure this house unless it has a brand new roof, even though the roof is only, let's just say 10 years old, because, you happen to live in Louisiana or Florida and it's had no damage. The insurance company puts that as a risk because the the roof is over 10 years old, so they can't get insurance. So in order for that to happen, they do the deferred maintenance type things. They'll close it, they get the new roof, then the insurance is adjusted. I don't like deferred maintenance. I like to have my house up to par beforehand, but that's just me personally. Some people don't know what's actually wrong with their house before they put it on the market. So some people will opt to have a home inspection done to their home before they even put it on the market, repair all the things that were on that inspection report, and then they'll include that in their listing ahead of time. Look, these were all the things that were wrong with the house. These are all the things that we fixed. If you want to buy it, here it is. Something to consider. Tangerine Door says builder incentives, high efficiency home that will defray the cost of utilities for the next 30 years. You know, that would be interesting, because you know that they have withdrawn the energy efficiency guidelines they need for home building. Those green energy restrictions that home builders have, they're not there anymore. That was part of the most recent big beautiful bill. They took out the green energy requirements. So I would love to see what happens with home building. I wonder if the home builders are going to still make their green energy homes, or are they going to pull back from that because it's more expensive to do it that way? Be interesting. PR says, I wouldn't buy a new home as I don't trust contractors. Older homes have more character and have settled well. I'm with you, because, you know, I'm always on the lookout for housing. And my daughter has been looking at houses, and I showed her this one house, and she's like, I really like that house. And I'm like, yeah, it was built in 1957. That thing's like a rock. You know? And the whole thing was like solid brick. I'm like, that's not going anywhere. And it, you know, it's been around for that long, not moving. Love it. Yeah, I'm with you. And then you watch those home inspectors on some of these channels like TikTok and Facebook and YouTube, and you see all the things that they find in brand new construction. It's frightening. It's frightening. And it has a lot to do with the fact that you get cheap labor, you get cheap product, you know, and, you know, unless they're caught, they can't fix it. Yep. Oh, you live. Somebody said, I live in Louisiana. Don't say hurricane. No, I don't want one either, Molly. Molly Jackson said that. Property taxes and land rights aren't talked about enough. What do you want to talk about as far as property taxes and land rights? Some people say you never really have the right to your land because you always have to pay property taxes. Some governors are saying that they're going to try to withdraw property taxes, but they haven't put out a plan to save, like, how, if you're going to save that money from people paying property taxes, where are you going to get the money from to run schools, fire departments, police, all these other things that you need, ambulances within your community, roads being fixed. If you're not collecting property taxes, where are you going to get that money from? Gotta put that out there. Christian says, question, how is the real estate if they don't want to build sidewalks on both sides of the street? In Louisiana, we do not have sidewalks. Do you know what's even crazier? In the state of Louisiana, you have a road, and then that's it. Like, if you break down on the side of the road, there is no side of the road. You just break down on the road. It's like road and a ditch. There's nothing, you know, like you go to other places, you're like, oh, I can just go on to the shoulder. There is no shoulder. It's like this wide. This wide.
In all fairness, they are starting to try to build sidewalks in certain spots.
Yeah, but how?
Fairness,
yeah. You have a sidewalk for like a half a mile, and then there's no sidewalk. How is that helpful to anything? And then, like, you know,
you got to start somewhere to connect it.
Wait, well, and then they also do this thing where, like, the neighborhood will have all the sidewalks. And then, like, people that aren't from here, they're like, can the kids walk to school? Even if they lived across the street from the school, you technically cannot walk to school. And I'm not joking when I tell you this. When my kids were in school, there was some kids that lived right across the street. They had to get on the school bus. The school bus would come out and drop them off right in front of their house. So dumb. So dumb. I mean, how hard is it?
I like the neighborhoods like in phase 1, they didn't have to build a sidewalk. And then they passed that ruling that builders now have to build sidewalks in neighborhoods. So like phase 2 and 3 have sidewalks.
I
So you go through
know.
the first half of the neighborhood, there's no sidewalks, and then you got kids playing everywhere in the other half of the neighborhood.
I know. It's such a I don't know. You got to have the sidewalks. I prefer sidewalks. I think they're good for the community. It gets people because the people walk on your grass. So, instead of people walking on the grass, they have a nice sidewalk, you know. But then the HOAs are like, oh, that's one more liability that we have to take care of. And then, give them something else to complain about. FYI, the 2025 National Modular Home Conference, November 10th through the 12th, 2025, is the Landing Hotel in Pittsburgh, PA. And there is a link. Thank you so much, Debbie Brady. I got it out. Pats fan, greetings from New Hampshire, everyone. New Hampshire just hit another record high for home prices, also low inventory. And this proves my point. The Northeast is still rocking with home sales. They are killing it. They have so much. Doesn't matter. Just throw a sign up. You want to sell your house in the Northeast? Throw your sign out and you'll get it sold. You get it sold. Oh, you guys, you ready? Let me know if you're ready for some real estate gossip. And I'm going to share it with you. Maggie says, any comments on West Virginia market? I live 15 minutes from the New River Gorge in a very small old house. I'm not seeing home prices plummet here. Not all of us live in California or Texas. Yeah, no, I have not looked in West Virginia. I'd be lying if I said that I had, but I will. I will look into that for next week. I promise. But I know that like Maryland is still killing it. I know that like I said, New Jersey, I know is doing really well. Parts of Pennsylvania still doing good, but I have not looked at West Virginia. Charlton Zimmerman, good to see you. I see they're spraying lemon fresh on the New Orleans streets. Why? Will it be done elsewhere? All right, if you guys don't know, I want to explain this, right? So New Orleans has a smell that is unique to New Orleans. It has an underline of alcohol, urine, and whatever else is under the city streets. Certain times of the year, a company comes out with a big, they just spray this stuff. It's a big truck that just sprays this lemon fresh stuff. And it does make the whole French Quarter smell delicious. They used that during the Super Bowl, didn't they, Eddie?
So it actually started before then.
It did.
BI, and they have a contract with the city, and actually it's coming up. So they're about to vote on if they're going to keep that contract with them or not. Right. And they just recently started putting lemons in that water that they spray at 3:00. Now, if you go down Bourbon Street right now, it does smell a lot better than it used to.
Yeah, but it still has that underlying smell of filth. Not as bad. And just for God's sakes, if you ever go to New Orleans, please, first off, rule of thumb, do not wear flip-flops or sandals or open-toed shoes to go down Bourbon Street. And whatever you do, try your hardest to never walk in any puddle, any puddle at any time. One day I saw some lady during one of the rainstorms. I mean, it was like flooding, and she went out in the street with like this much water and just was rolling around. Now, granted, have the time of your life, but not on Bourbon Street like that. That's a new level of ick. So do not go to NOLA in the heat of the summer. You'll regret it. Yeah, I've done that. Me and Eddie did that when we first moved here. Some friends came to visit. They're like, we want to go to New Orleans. And we're like, okay. And it was sweltering. Yes.
Unfortunately, I do it almost every week.
Yes. All right. So let's talk about some real estate gossip. Let's share this. So a while back, there was a tiny home builder that I mentioned to you guys. He got really popular on TikTok, and it was called Holy Ground Tiny Homes. This guy, and I said it back then, I'm like, this guy's scamming people. And sure enough, he ends up having to go to court because he had taken so many people's deposits for tiny homes. and he was forced to restructure his business and pay back those people that he had taken deposits from. That has yet to have happened. But while all of this was going on, he decided to create a whole new business. And do you think it was on the up and up? Do you think he was an honest guy? Because, he was so honest, he wouldn't even use his last name. He only used his first name and his middle name to start his new business. When people asked about him, he told them that he was a general contractor. He'd been in business and building homes for years. And his new business adventure was building like backyard workrooms like this one and saunas. So it was like a sauna backyard workroom type business. And sure enough, guess what happened? People put down deposits. People paid the whole entire thing ahead of time. And they never got what they were promised. Shocking, I know. Shocking. And sure enough, this is what it says. Colorado business owner promised to build backyard buildings like saunas and sheds, suddenly stopped delivering. I'm mind blown. Who knew? The sudden closure left customers without thousands of dollars and others scrambling to complete or repair half-finished projects. It's the same thing he did with the tiny homes. We were excited to get a sauna and be enjoying it in 4 days. The new mom in Englewood said in the southern Colorado, Robert, a disabled veteran, and his wife Krista wanted to help others. I can't do this stuff no more. That's why we hired out. A rental owner working on upgrades on the property in Broomsfield thought he found an expert. This guy's a smooth talker. And he lied. He didn't even tell them his real name. So here it says he alluded to the fact that he had many years of experience in the construction. I was looking to purchase 2 sheds and a little playhouse for my granddaughter. Those 4 people have never met but have a connection. They all paid up front for 4 projects that were never completed despite promises from the same man. It's the same exact scam. And this guy had been caught before. He's been in jail before for like a gambling thing that he was doing. I say once you're a scammer, always a scammer. Oh, that's if you look on the YouTube, it will show you. There's a picture of him in front of his holy ground tiny homes that people never got. They were built, but they never got them. So it says Matthew Shaw pleaded guilty to felony theft after he sold his shares in an amateur poker tournament without securities license. The same Matt Shawath targeted in a murder for hire plot using rattlesnakes. But one of the investors who allegedly lost money in that tournament in 2017, he told CBS Colorado that his life had changed and he turned himself to God and racing. All righty. I often tell people prison was the best thing that happened to me. And they think I'm crazy at the time. A few years after the interview, he started Holy Ground Tiny Homes in 2022, was filing for bankruptcy. Court documents in the case show he owed over 200 customers nearly $6 million, while also spending tens of thousands of dollars in Las Vegas buying motorcycles and race cars. And he also bought real estate. Who knew he was buying houses with these people's deposits? He was buying motorcycles, RVs, traveling around the country, but he couldn't give these people their homes. Some of these people, that was their last option because he was selling these tiny homes at a discounted rate. So people were looking at, this is my last $35,000 I have to my name. I'm giving this to you to build me a home because this is the last affordable housing option I have. And he took that money and ran away with it. I mean, there's a special place for people that do those kinds of scams. And I personally know, because I've gotten emails when I started talking about this a couple years ago, I personally gotten DMs and emails from people where he had taken their money. It was the last thing that he had given, like their last bit of money they had given them. One couple, poor couple, they were elderly, and the guy, Matt, had told him that he just didn't have enough money to finish the project. And her husband was so desperate to get these houses. He's like, how much money do you need? He said, $10,000 will get it done. And he's like, okay, I know it was more than we negotiated, but we have to get these houses. And he sent him another 10,000 freaking dollars. The houses never arrived. Sick. DJ says, hit the like button, people. That's what DJ says. Yep. It's nice to see people on the TikTok. So I'm just saying, whenever you're investigating a new home builder, a tiny home builder, a modular home builder, a PMRV builder, any of these people, try to find their first name, their last name, any affiliation that they've had with previous companies, whether they're starting their own business or not. Look them up on the Better Business Bureau. If they've only started within the last 9 months, to me, I would take a step back. I'm not going to be the guinea pig. I want to make sure that they have homes and they actually deliver the homes that they've promised to people. A lot of times when you see a company go very viral on TikTok or on YouTube, if they've not been building for a year, you don't know if they can deliver on the promise that they can get you that house. Wait until you start hearing from customers that have had those houses for more than a year, so you know that the durability of those homes. Start going to places like Reddit, Facebook, and other forums where you can hear people's genuine reaction to the houses. You can hear what their experience. You can hear how they've gone through financing and insurance. So everybody can talk these out. I'm a member of many on Facebook, especially when it comes to manufactured housing. And it's interesting to hear, because it's always the same names that keep coming up that become scam artists. So just be very careful out there. If it sounds too good to be true, in most cases, especially with the way that things cost today, it probably is not true. Charlton says, oh, Kristina, where do you get these stories? I was following this guy on TikTok, by the way, Charlton, because he was going very viral on TikTok. I found him and I'm like, how is he able to build these houses for $35,000? Then I had somebody reach out to me and they were like, hey, I don't know if you've heard of this guy before, but he's doing these houses for $35,000. And I was like, wow, to me, they were really nice. Now, granted, they were a PMRV, ones that you would pull. And I'm like, how is he able to do that? And this was like during the pandemic, especially with the problems with getting building supplies in. People were having all these problems, but it didn't seem like this guy was. So I was confused. And then there was another TikTok creator that had gotten one of his houses. So that made the guy go mega viral. And then after that, it was all downhill after that. And I had my eye on him. And that's what happens more often than not. I must get 2 or 3 emails a week of some brand new builder that's building an affordable housing option, which sounds like utopia. It sounds perfect. And every single time I'm like, I will show your houses after a year. I will gladly come out there and film your houses and show it to my audience after a year. And you know that within a year, they're not even in existence anymore. Most of the time. Debbie Birdie says, Eddie, did you guys get your AI Kristina back in working order? No. So if you guys don't know, I used to have a 888 number where you could leave a message for the AI Kristina robot answering service, where she would record your real estate question. I have not been able to get her back. So I'm looking at other options. MH08 says, scammer here in Colorado still has an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. Is that the tiny home builder? Is that the Holy Ground Tiny Homes, Matt Sowath? Is that the same guy that has the because Matt's in Colorado? I would love to know. Maggie says, it's been an interesting week in the neighborhood this week. A drill bit flew across the street into my double pane window from a neighbor's lawnmower, and we're having a learning experience. Oh, I've had a little kid, our little neighbor next door was throwing a baseball, and threw the baseball so hard it split open our fence. And now we have a gigantic hole in the fence. So now every time my dogs go out there, they're super nosy and stick their nose through that hole in the fence and look in their yard. Well, my dogs have now discovered they have a gigantic turtle. And for some reason, my dogs are terrified, but also need to look at the gigantic turtle next door. So I don't know who fixed that fence board. I'm just going to go buy a fence board and fix it myself. That's all I'm going to do. I'm looking to sell my house within the next year or so. Might as well get all this stuff done ahead of time.
Byron did ask. He wasn't aware that they were spraying lemon fresh liquid on the ground in NOLA. And when did that start? It didn't start too long ago. It actually was this year that they started.
It was right before the Super Bowl, right?
Yeah. I'm assuming they also knew that their contract was coming up too. So
yeah, so it was right before the Super Bowl. They do it at night. They do it when they scrub the streets.
It's like at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, after they scrub the streets, they come out and they spray this. It smells like Pledge, honestly. And he says it's a patented secret recipe on how he makes his lemon freshy, good smelly stuff for New Orleans. It does, and it smells lovely. I'm not gonna lie, it smells very fresh. MH08 says my parents had the knack of finding houses that were just inside the walking zone, so it was always just under a mile to school. I used to ride my bike to school back in my day when they allowed us to ride our bikes to school. Yeah, I used to ride my bike to school in the Houston heat. I used to do that, but we had green belts. We had green belts and sidewalks, and we had people that would like stand out and make sure that they watch the traffic. I liked it. I didn't mind it. My sister would never do it. She's like, no, my hair will get messed up. I didn't care. I was a dirty little kid.
I do want
to like a made bed.
I do want to say thank you to all the gifters on TikTok.
Oh, we got gifters on TikTok. Thank you. Thank you so much. I didn't even know we had a gift thing. I didn't know that was a thing. Thank you. I live in Georgia, mountains, no sidewalks. Mine is a homestead property with chickens, steel barn, gardens, etc. Second home area. No mortgage, acreage. How to price it? I was a realtor in the 90s. 500 square feet, same street, 3,000 square feet. Well, the pricing doesn't change. So all you do is pull up the comps in the area. And if you can't find one within your direct area, then you're going to have to start pulling them for, comparable areas around you. Here in Louisiana, our properties are very unique. You can have neighborhoods right next to a house that has acreage, next to a house that has acreage with a mobile home, next to a house that was built in the 50s. So I'm quite aware on how that works. If you're really, really unsure, I would just go ahead and hire an appraiser. It's $500. And that way you can justify the price that you're asking for your house. That's how I would do it. But it hasn't changed. CMA numbers are numbers. How you price it is exactly the same as it was in the 90s. Numbers are numbers. It's actually a lot easier now because you don't have to do like court record kind of stuff. Everything's on the internet. So you'll be fine. It'll be easy, a lot easier for you. You're going to be pleasantly surprised. Like, oh, I could do this all day. Going against the grain says, residing in Florida, we've seen price reductions from $10,000 to $35,000. And the closer you get to the coastline, the more you're seeing those reductions. And I'll tell you where else you're seeing those reductions in condos. Remember, we had this discussion last week. If you weren't here, last week we started talking about condos. And I asked you guys, would you consider having a condo? And in my brain, I don't even know if anybody could give me a condo. Even my kids were like, hey, Mom, what do you think of these condos? I'm like, I don't think of them. Mostly because that condo associations, much like a lot of communities, have been taken over by private equity. And those homeowners associations, to me, can be a racket, especially with condos. And the accounting for a lot of the older condo associations seems to be a lot off kilter, and nothing made that come to light as much as what has happened in Florida when they have made those regulations. And all these condo associations, all of a sudden, where's the money at? And they can't account for a lot of money that has gone into the county, into the homeowners association itself. So these people are getting these bills in the mail, a special assessment in the mail. And if they don't pay it, then all of a sudden they're putting a lien on the property. And some of them are even being foreclosed on. And some people are just like, look, I'm on fixed income. I don't have an extra $35,000 to give to the condo association. So they're just packing up their stuff and leaving. It's happening. It's happening. That's why I would never do a condo. That's just me. Yep. Money Sneaker 77 said, Kristina, do you ever consider the housing crisis will never be fixed and fundamentals are never coming back? Did I ever consider that? Of course I consider it. That's what my whole channel is about. That's why I'm giving people solutions to the affordability crisis. Because if governments really wanted, local governments I'm talking about, really wanted to fix the problem, they could. They would not work so incredibly hard against home builders that are trying to make more affordable housing. But it isn't just the home builders and local governments you have to fight against. It's people that already live in those communities, because they fight against it all the time. Whenever you say, oh, we want to start a row house community, they'll say, oh no, it's against our aesthetics here in the area. That's going to look terrible. It's going to stick out like a sore thumb. The builders cave and they'll say, okay, we'll do it like this and we'll make it look like this. And they keep dragging it through the mud 1,000 times. They vote on it. And sure enough, it never gets voted on. And these builders have wasted their time. But if they decide they're going to build mansions there, then the community's like, yeah, heck yeah, go ahead and put it in there. Because that in their minds brings up the property value, and affordable housing looks ugly and it's going to bring down their property value. That's just not how it works. Just because you have an apartment complex in your area doesn't mean that the whole area has gone down the tubes. That's just a silly way to think. But you can't tell some people. You just can't. They're like, no, if you put that in there, it's going to make my property value go down. Come on, Jan, lighten up. You need people to, you're going to be really upset, Jan, when you have no nurses in your area because they can't afford to live there. Whatever. SB says, AI Kristina got tired of us calling her rude. So she took her toot and split. Now, if you want to know the truth, SB, I got my phone number and several other phone numbers that were a part of this service got hacked. And they were using the phone number itself to spam call other people. So they stole the number and they were spam calling a bunch of people with that phone number. And of course, what happens, it gets shut down. So yeah, it sucked. Rick says, does the Better Business Bureau rating still have weight? I personally don't. I mean, it's just one layer to me whenever I'm investigating something. Is there anything on the Better Business Bureau? And if there is, and there's a lot of correspondence on there, did the builder answer them? And if they did answer them, how did they answer them? Because that's another key thing, right? I've seen builders answer and the response is so incredibly dreadful. I'm like, who would ever work with this guy? He's a jerk, You can also check their Google listing and see what's on there. And if they're all glowing reviews with no, 5-star review, but no verbiage in it, those don't weigh on me. I gotta read something. Tell me what your honest experience is. But you can't just hit one area and say, okay, well, their Better Business Bureau said they're fine, so they're fine. No, you gotta do a little bit more homework than that. That's just one stop that you stop at. Go to your local community's Facebook page and say, hey, have you guys heard of this builder before? Has anybody had any experience with them? Like what's going on in your town? I'm sure everybody's got that group. We have it here. What's going on in Baton Rouge? And then you ask your questions. Somebody will bring it up. That's how you find out what the good restaurants are and where the good bank is, and that kind of thing. That's what you need to do. Don't just go to one place to research a home builder. That's for sure. One
other thing about Better Business Bureau is that you do have to buy a membership, and just know the better membership that you get, how your rating becomes A+.
Right. Yep. Yeah. I mean, and it's kind of like that Angie's List too. It used to be really good, but you pay for a better spot, then all of a sudden you get up on the list. Your listing becomes more gold star, So I just find that talking to real people in real situations is the best way to go. Rick Smith says, spray lemon pledge in the French Quarter. Yeah, I don't want him to stop. Lemon pledge on cobblestone and then heated. I'm just saying it smells like lemon pledge. I'm not saying that's what it is. That's what it smells like. I love the smell of lemon pledge. Molly said, mosquitoes don't like the smell of lemons or peppermint, y'all. Did you guys ever use, like, did your mom ever like coat you in that Avon Skin So Soft because she said it got rid of mosquitoes? My friend's mom used to do that. Hey, Kristina, Eddie, and family. Just wondering, question, any feedback on incredible tiny homes in Tennessee? I have not personally worked with them. I've had past correspondence with them. I talked to them on the phone a while back. And then I've had mixed reviews. I have had mixed reviews. Some people absolutely love them. And then I've had people that have said they were terrible. So I just don't know. Personally, I do not know. Like I said, it's just been a mixed bag of reviews of that community itself. Just go. I've seen some videos on YouTube. So just type it in, my review, like somebody's my review of incredible tiny homes. And like I said, you'll see a mixed bag. Rick Smith says, I want to smell like fresh roasted coffee. Well, our fresh roasted coffee here in Louisiana, it has chicory in it. Stuff tastes terrible. I don't care what y'all say in Louisiana. That is foul tasting coffee. Patricia says, price reductions, North Idaho, all over from lower 450,000 up to luxury, many over 60 days on the market. Is that what you're seeing in your area, Patricia? I know, like I said, it's so area specific. That's why it's really important for you to work with a real estate agent in the area that you're looking to buy, because you can't take a headline and say, this is exactly what's happening in the housing market. Back during the last housing crash in 2008, and what I had just started working here in Louisiana, I had this couple that was moving in from Tennessee, and they took I think $25,000 off of their house to get it sold. So when they came here, every offer they were offering was under $25,000. They wanted $25,000 off the purchase price. We didn't have a crash here. There was no reduction of $25,000. No seller was going to take that. And after like the 16th offer, I just said to them, what are you going to do? Because nobody's going to take that much off of the price of the house. Not one person is going to take that off of there. Then if they finally got it, that's why you really need to trust your real estate agents. They're not all trying to screw you over. Work with somebody that you like working with. If you get the ick from them at the beginning, find another real estate agent. There's a million of them, but trust when you find one and you trust them, believe them when they say that what the market is doing is actually doing that. So Violet says, a question, are they spray cleaning the streets before they spray the lemon fresh scent? Well, they actually do scrub the streets. So they have the people that come in and pick up the schmutz off the ground. They scrub them and then they spray. So that's why it's like 3:00 in the morning once they spray, because they got to get the scrubbers through first.
Only Mardi Gras. Only Mardi Gras do they send the people. They actually have the trucks that have the brushes underneath that spin. Yeah, during Mardi Gras. During Mardi Gras. Charlotte says, do you think August 4th building materials will increase because of tariffs? The world may never know. Charlton, every day is a different number. Who knows? That's I like Eddie works with some home builders too, not building, but just within his job. And some of them are just so on the fence of what's going to be happening with building materials. They're deciding to do things that they know that they'll get paid on, where they won't sit on inventory. So a lot of home builders that we know are deciding to do the rent to own type of thing, where they're building either townhomes or multifamily units, duplexes and triplexes, where they're selling them to a company. So that way, if the building materials come in higher than they originally
contracted for, they know that they're going to go ahead and, finish up the project. They're going to get it done and they're going to get paid. And they don't have to worry about sitting on empty inventory that would make them lose money. So it's just something to think about.
Hey, we have a question on TikTok from
Yes.
Elle. It says, what are interest rates right now?
They're averaging around 6.6% at the moment.
So I just pulled it up. Conventional 30-year fixed. The average APR is 6.83. The average interest rate is 6.77.
6.77. 6.77. I was close.
I knew you didn't have it on you, so I figured
I was quoting realtor.com.
I'm just giving it to you. Realtor.com.
I'm literally looking at the article right here. I was quoting realtor.com.
Oh, I just looked it up. Elle says, awesome. Thank you for answering.
Oh, you know what though, too? This is something that people need to be aware of. The interest rates, the mortgage interest rates for Louisiana are going to be different than the mortgage interest rates for Georgia, which are going to be different than the mortgage interest rates for Florida. So what I say here is from a reflection on average for the whole entire United States. The interest rates for your specific area could be completely different. One more thing. If you are a new home buyer or you're just trying to buy, for your first home, or you're like financially challenged in some ways, there are programs that are available almost in every single state, whether that's bond money. Here in Louisiana, we have bond money. Sometimes they have closing cost incentives. Sometimes if you're a teacher, they have a loan product for just specific teachers in your local area. So it's really important to work with a local lender in that area that knows those programs. When you work with a huge conglomerate, I won't specifically say any names, but when you see the big names out there that do mortgages, they don't know what your local area is offering as far as programs where you get, I won't say free money, but money that will help you purchase a house. So work with a local lender in your area as well.
Elle says, before you move to the next question, that they are in Texas.
Oh, all my exes live in Texas. I know you've probably never heard that before.
I don't have that.
I'm such a comedian. SB says, wow, spam calls. Nothing is safe these days, not even a phone number. You remember back in the day when we used to be able to register our phone numbers for the do not call list? They do not listen and they do not get in trouble. That never worked. It only worked for a small window of time, and it was such a relief. And, I loved my cell phone when I first got it, too, because spam callers only called the house phone, got rid of the house phone, and then they started in on the cell phones. That do not call registry is a big waste. Big waste. Debbie says the poll results are in, and it says, are home sellers asking a realistic price? Hold on. I had to do something on here. It says, are home sellers asking prices are unrealistic? 64% say they are unrealistic. 12% no, say no. And 23% said they're unsure if home prices are unrealistic at this time. And the reason I asked this question is because I saw it on TikTok. People were like, home sellers are being greedy. They're still asking way too much money for their houses. The thing is that you can ask whatever you want for your house. The market itself dictates how much it will actually sell for. Back when the housing was going berserk during the pandemic, people kept blaming real estate agents. Real estate agents are pricing these houses way too high. The same thing happens today that it would back then. If it was priced too high, nobody would buy it. That's it. The market, if it's priced too high, nobody will buy it. The market dictates the price of the house, period, end. And some sellers, if they are being realistic, they're deciding to just go ahead and pull it off the market. It is what it is. You don't have to buy it. That's what happens. So as we creep into the fall, home prices have not declined enough for most home buyers to get off the fence to do it. But if we see a reduction in mortgage interest rates, I think it will incentivize enough home buyers to make the markets go crazy again, especially if you're under that $400,000 mark, especially if you're under that $400,000 mark. So Gvon says, question, if you get the ick halfway through with your agent, you know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you get the ick, you can fire them. You can say, look, this is not working out. You just send a friendly email like, look, Mr. Agent or Mrs. Agent, I appreciate the time and effort that you've put into our previous conversations and showing me homes in the past. I just feel like that we need to end this relationship now. I don't want to work with you anymore. I don't think we have a good connection. I'm going to move on with another real estate agent. Thank you again for your time. Period. End. Walk away.
I remember a story like this.
Huh?
This story sounds familiar.
Yeah, I fired back in my day when we were moving here to Louisiana. I had hired a real estate agent that I had interviewed over the phone. This guy sounded amazing. And we met him in person. I swear to you what I tell you, I don't know what he was drinking, if he was drinking or what he was taking. But the wheels was spinning, but the hamster was dead. So, yeah. Sometimes you just gotta fire a real estate agent. And I remember I was like, I just quit answering his phone calls, called and Eddie saw this lady's billboard on the side of the road. We pulled over the side of the road. She showed up. She pulled up in her car. She's like, I'm just dropping off my clients. I'll be right there. She came right up. She showed us 3 houses. We bought a house from her. I'm still friends with her today.
We did tell him though, he was fired.
Yes. I told him I wasn't going to work with him anymore. I did. After she showed us houses, I'm like, you know what? I don't think this is a good relationship. And it was not. And he was fired. Every once in a while, I'd see him at like some continuing education thing. He didn't recognize me though. Yeah. Tom said something interesting here. He said, free market, capitalist society. You're not going to stop private equity from buying. And that's the truth. That is the biggest enemy in our housing market today. I believe this wholeheartedly. And some people will say that I'm being ridiculous, but I've been sounding the alarm about private equity back when I was talking about private equity buying up mobile home parks. But that's not sexy and nobody cares about it because they don't live in a mobile home. It doesn't affect them. But now private equity is getting into every local neighborhood. They're in your apartment complexes. They're in your retirement communities. They're in your HOAs. Private equity will be the destruction of the capitalist society. That's for sure. That's what I believe.
And before you answer lawnmower, the question was, what do wasps not like? Because there was a conversation about that: peppermint, citrus, and lavender.
Oh, I right outside my little office here, this little workroom I have, there's a whole family of wasps. I just tell them, please don't sting me. And they don't. They've been out there for, 4 weeks now. I just tell them not to sting me and they don't. I have a conversation with them. Lawnmower says, if you fire a realtor, real estate agent, is it reasonable to have them expect an expectation of compensation? So how it works in most states is that you are hiring them for a specific property. So if that real estate agent showed you the house and you, went to the house with them, and then you decide to write the house up with another real estate agent, the original agent that showed you the house is deserving of some compensation. You got to look in your agreements. When you have your buyer's agreement, look at that as well. But if you fired that real estate agent, new real estate agent shows you houses that the original real estate agent did not show you, you owe them zilch, unless it was something written differently in your buyer's agreement. Okay. Debbie Brady says, Have you smacked the like button yet? No. If not, why? Why wouldn't you smack that like button? I got some hearts over here on the old Tiki Talkies. I've been watching. I see it in the corner of my eye right here. I can see it. There's like these little hearts that pop up, and I know that if you're on YouTube and you're on the cellular phone device, you can hit the little hearty hearts too. Patricia says, question, that interest for conventional FHA or VA? Interest for conventional? I don't really understand the
I think
question.
she was talking about when the interest rate, that was for conventional FHA fixed. The average is 675, and the average
For the
the
conventional was
average APR
675.
is 675, and the average interest rate is 669.
669.
6.669.
Yeah, 6.669. 6.669. But that's on the average.
And then VA, the average interest rate is 6.8.
VA 6.8. Yeah, that's what it's got.
That makes sense.
She said, got it, thanks. She said, got it. You got it. That's how I think.
I'm there. Don't worry.
I don't know if Patricia sounds like this, but that sounds like, in my brain, Patricia sounds like this.
I'm sorry, Patricia.
I just like saying Patricia's name like that. Patricia. I'm killing myself. Violet says, I had a change of heart about wasps when I learned they eat black widow spiders. That makes me feel a little differently about wasps myself. I've seen black widow spiders here in Louisiana. And I was like, at first I was like, I don't think that's a black widow spider. And I got really close and I went, that's definitely a black widow spider. So, I don't think Patricia's mad at me. She said she loves me, Eddie. So, oh, hey, I made it. You helped me not the doom and gloom about the market. Oh, well, I'm going to tell you, speaking of doom and gloom, I know you see these headlines. And the thing is, everybody that's on YouTube is trying to do the same thing. We're all trying to get you to click on the video so you watch it and have a discussion with us. The thing is that no matter what real estate market we're in, even if it looked exactly like it did in 2008, 9, and 10, real estate transactions always were happening. People were still buying and selling homes. It doesn't mean the whole world is collapsed and nobody's buying anything. And like, it isn't the end of the world. It's just an adjustment in the real estate market. And this too shall pass. Like this too shall pass. That's what my mom always says. So just know that. Carla says, what happens after private equity ruins society? How will we afford places to rent and own? Carlos, I was thinking about this today. Totally off the subject of real estate, right? Not only is private equity ruining everything, more and more jobs are taken over by AI because big corporations don't want to pay people, right? It's a lot cheaper to hire AI to do the job they used to pay somebody, $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 a year to do. But what happens when you don't have the customers to buy your stuff anymore? Who are you trying to service at that moment? Because you've cut the line so incredibly short. Now you have no more customers to buy your junk. There's going to be a reckoning at some point. Because when you eliminate the workforce by robot intelligence, first of all, it ain't that intelligent, as you can tell. It makes up stuff. It gets stuff wrong. There will be a moment of reckoning. Because if you don't pay people to have a job, they can't buy your junk anymore. And if they can't buy your junk anymore, and they can't afford your homes anymore, what are you going to do? You're going to let it all decay and just have a bunch of homeless people running around the United States? There's going to be a moment of reckoning. That's for sure. I believe that wholeheartedly. So anyways, with that,
by the way, remember, no doom and gloom. And you have one more question on TikTok from Nathan.
Okay,
Any
Nathan.
tips for looking for land to put a manufactured home on?
Yes, Nathan, put land on manufactured homes. So whenever you're going into the MLS or on realtor.com, look for the verbiage that says modular home accepted. Our MLS will say that as well. Most of the time it's going to be, if it doesn't have that, you look for the verbiage where it says rural track on the listing. And most likely you're going to have an easier time finding land that will allow for mobile homes. If you're still unsure, you take that piece of land and you go into the county's building office and ask them, is this approved for manufactured housing? And they'll let you know. They usually know right away. So all right, everybody. With that, I hope you have a fantastic week. Hopefully, we'll stop with the unprecedented times because Kristina's really, really had it up to freaking here in unprecedented times. I hope you have a fantastic week. If you have any questions after the stream, you're more than welcome to reach me at my website, KristinaSmallhorn.com. If you happen to love this podcast and you want to share it with friends and family, you can always go to anywhere you listen to podcasts. That would be Kristina Smallhorn, Real Estate for Everyone. Share it with your friends and family. And make sure you give a 5-star review. According to Eddie, he always asks me to do that. Ask you to give a 5-star review. If you don't want to, I don't care. But Eddie, do it for Eddie. All right, everybody. Have a fantastic week. Thanks so much. Thank you, moderators. You guys are the best. Thank you so much to the audience today and spending some time with me, because I know that time is one of the most precious gifts we can give to people. Bye, y'all. Be good. Stay out of trouble. Don't talk to strangers. Look both ways before crossing. Bye.